G. Stanley Hall, the father of adolescence. Granville Stanley Hall, more commonly known as G. Stanley Hall, was born in Ashfield, Massachusetts on February 1, 1844. Hall was born to Granville Bascom Hall, who served in the Massachusetts legislature, and Abigail Beals, who received her education at the Albany Female Seminary and later became a teacher. They raised Hall with love and a devotion to religion, which resulted in him entering into the Union Theological Seminary to become a minister after graduating from Williamson's College in 1867. After 10 weeks as a church pastor, he decided to leave the ministry. He instead went to Germany to study philosophy from 1868 to 1871. Afterwards, he became an instructor and lecturer at Antioch College in Ohio in 1872. Hall grew a certain interest with psychology thanks to a partial reading of Physiological Psychology by William Wundt. In 1876, Hall resigned from Antioch College and studied abroad in Germany once again to continue studying Wundt's work. After returning to the United States, Hall began a research with H.P. Bowditch at Harvard Medical School. Hall was then awarded the first Ph.D. in psychology in the United States at Harvard University in 1878. Hall went back to Berlin and Leipzig to study physiological psychology in laboratories and also investigated the possibilities of applying psychology to education. In 1880, Hall returned to the United States and was invited by Harvard University to give public lectures on education. His lectures were so successful that in 1881, Hall was invited once again by Harvard University and Johns Hopkins University to give his lectures. In 1882, Johns Hopkins University appointed Hall as a lecturer in psychology and pedagogy. In 1884, he was then appointed as a professor in those subjects. This professorship was the first chair in the new field of psychology in the United States. In 1883, Hall established one of the first psychology laboratories in the United States. Here, he focused on scientific approaches and became a major force in organizing the field of psychology. In 1887, Hall launched the American Journal of Psychology, which was the first psychological journal to exist in the United States and second of any significance outside of Germany. In 1888, Hall became the first president of Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts. He pictured Clark University as a brilliant graduate school and invited numerous of leading scholars to join in the facility. In 1890, Hall's wife and daughter accidentally asphyxiated, leaving Hall to raise his young son on his own. In 1892, Hall founded the American Psychological Association and was also the first president of the association.
G. Stanley Hall was widely known for his multiple theories. Most of his theories dealt with biological views on various concepts. Besides how he has influenced ideas about child psychology, he also had an interest in the development of adolescents and adults. An interesting fact about Hall is that he strongly believed in the value of studying abroad. Hall's theories are either directly about education or they affect it in some way. One theory that is biological but affects education ideas is Hall's theory of recapitulation. The main idea of this theory is that everyone goes through changes in both the psychic and somatic senses, which follow the evolution scale of the mind and body. He basically claimed that physical development and mental development went hand in hand, which alludes to his later theories of adolescence. In other words, if someone wasn't ready physically, they would not be ready mentally. This led to his belief of education being separated by age. This theory connected to education since he believed that children had to be free to grow and learn without much pressure, since their minds are not developed enough and should not be exposed to such stress. He believed younger students should learn more by play. Other theories of his were more explicitly based around education. Like many others during early time periods, Hall believed that students should be given specialized classes, now known as vocational classes. He wanted students to focus on learning about what their predicted futures had in store. Another one of his theories had to do with coeducation and how it was not effective. He believed that adolescents hit a point where their lives become sexed, which is largely due to puberty. According to Hall, students should be separated by gender in order to achieve optimal learning. He claimed coeducation would allow for way too many distractions and no benefits. A big theory of his is the storm and stress theory, which basically sums up puberty. He believed adolescence is a time of utmost stress, and when teens are more vulnerable, snappy, or more likely to feel rebellious.
Despite opposition, Hall, as an early proponent of psychoanalysis, invited Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung to the conferences celebrating Clark University's 20th anniversary in 1909. Hall published 489 works during his career, covering most of the major areas of psychology. Some of his most famous works were Jesus the Christ in the Light of Psychology, which was published in 1917. In 1920, Hall retired from Clark University. However, he continued to publish more works even after his retirement. In 1922, Hall published Senescence, The Last Half of Life. In 1923, Hall wrote his first and only autobiography titled Life and Confessions of a Psychologist. Not too long after being elected for his second term of presidency in the American Psychological Association, Hall died at the age of 78 on April 24, 1924, in Worcester, Massachusetts.
The storm and stress theory is a big reason that Hall thought middle schools were necessary. Education based on age, mental, and physical readiness led to the growth of middle schools. He is also known as the father of education because he shaped adolescent themes in psychology, education, and popular culture. Hall's work lent scientific support to the muscular Christian approach to education, an intersection of morals, physical health, and economic productivity that was popular among the reformers who started the Young Men's Christian Association, Boy Scouts, and other character-building organizations. At the start of the 20th century, public schools, Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, and juvenile courts participated in an enlarged and intensified discourse about adolescence. Modern facts of adolescence produced by G. Stanley Hall and his colleagues and students emerged in a social context of worry over progress. Hall's work defined adolescence in modern, scientific terms, that is, as natural and outside of social relations and history. The shapers of modern scientific adolescence made growing bodies and sexuality and measures to prevent youth economic dependence. Finally, Hall contributed to the scientific knowledge about adolescence that harassed youth ever more firmly into Peirce Company. Hall's ideas continue to shape contemporary discussions of adolescence biology, growing bodies, pure orientation, and problematic convenience time.